These are my 5 tips for writing a story. And at the end, I've got a bonus one. So stick around. My first tip is, what is the purpose of the story? Now, I could sit down at a keyboard and I could bang away all day long and I could fill it up with all kinds of words, with he said, she said, they did, he did, it did, but if it's not going anywhere, it's just a creative writing exercise. That might be fun for you. And I do that on occasion when I want to work out an idea, I want to work out a style, I want to work out a feeling. I'll do that. The reader is not going to want to go out and get the book to read your creative writing exercises. So figure out, what's it going to be? Is it going to be a mystery? Is it going to be an adventure? Is it going to be a thriller? Is it going to be a comedy? Is it going to be a drama? Is it going to be a historical fiction? Is it going to be science fiction? Figure out where it's going to go. Then you got to figure out the purpose of the characters. Everybody really falls into 4 roles in a book. You have the hero, you have the villain, you have the victim, then you have the supporting cast. Now, the supporting cast can have some subcategories of sidekick or henchman, mentor, whatever, or just walk-ons. But your characters have to be in one of those roles. Then you have to develop them accordingly. And how are they going to fulfill those roles? And how are their roles going to further the plot of your story? Then when you have that determined, you have to look at your main characters and you have to come to the conclusion of, what challenges are they going to face? Are they going to have to contend against Mother Nature, dealing with a natural disaster, a wildfire, an earthquake, a flood, a volcano, a tidal wave, a meteor strike? Any of those, what challenges are they faced with? Or are they just faced with somebody's about to foreclose on the farm and break up a family and they're going to lose everything? Is there a killer on the loose? Is it an escaped convict? Somebody trying to make sure somebody else doesn't disclose a crime that they may have seen without realizing it? Any of the challenges that are going to impel you to turn the next page, to stick around for the next chapter, to reach the end of the book, to find out, how is this all going to tie up? Once you've assessed the challenges that the characters have, you got to look at the characters themselves. What strengths do they have? What weaknesses? What prejudices? What ideals? What are the things that make them respond to the situations they're in? What's going to help them advance to successful conclusion thereof? Which is going to be a stumbling block? Have past experiences shaped how they look at the world? Have past experiences shaped how they view relationships? Have their own internal desires colored them for good or bad as to how they're going to approach things? There's a whole bunch of stuff that has to get tossed in that round out the characters, and by rounding out the characters, you round out the story. That brings us to 5. This is where they meet the challenges. They realize, I have to do something. I cannot let forces dictate a conclusion to me. I will not just sit idly by and wait for somebody to arrive on a white horse, or wait for a deus ex machina, to just suddenly appear and magically explain everything, which is a literary technique, which is one that I absolutely hate, because, you've got all these people that are supposed to figure it out and then some magical solution shows up at the end. Yeah, I'm kind of cheated. So, one word of advice, scratch that. Each person in a story, if not in real life, each person has within his or herself the ability to assess and address the challenge that they're in. Well, actually, in real life, you have that too, because life imitates art and art imitates life. So with us, you might have to figure out, where am I going to turn? Who am I going to talk to if I can't figure out how to do this myself? It's the same thing with the characters in your book. They have to resolve the situation they're in. How are they going to do it? Then, here's my bonus. Once they've resolved the situation, once they've had to confront themselves, once they've had to evaluate everything, having come through this dark night of the soul, so to speak, how does it change them? Do the villains go through a redemption? Do the heroes go through a corruption? Do people suddenly view each of them differently now? Do they become resolved in the decisions they've made, and the choices they've made, and the values they adhere to? Or do they sit and say, maybe I've got to look at it all? Remember that every solution creates a new set of problems. Now that they've met the challenge, now that they have overcome their obstacles, where do they go from here? If you ever saw the classic musical Into the Woods, then you understand what I'm getting at. Happily ever after is usually just the beginning.